Hey guys, Alfanzo here. So we're having a bunch of delays at my school because of the spectacularly named Arctic vortex. Like a couple years ago we had, what was it? Snowmageddon, I believe it was called. We have the best names for like mild snowstorms. Anyway. Anyway, we're not supposed to go yet, apparently. So today we're reviewing, I hesitate to call it reviewing, but several of the games and stuff that I've played in the past few weeks. First game, Half-Life, the original Half-Life. Well, Source Half-Life, but it's the same thing. Well, not the same thing, essentially the same thing, better physics. It was very good. I see why a lot of people like it, and it's, it really balanced out, story and gameplay a lot, and I really like that. I also played its two, not really sequels because they happen at the same time. I'll say spin-offs, or expansions, that's the word, called Blue Shift and Opposing Force. In Blue Shift, he plays the security guard Barney. He's actually in Half-Life 2. And you manage to escape the Black Mesa facility along with several scientists over the course of the events of Half-Life. Now, at the end, it seemed kind of like what happened sort of seemed kind of inconsequential. At the end, you are being teleported outside, but the teleporter is like teleports you outside, and then teleports you elsewhere, and then teleports you elsewhere, etc., and but then it eventually teleports you right back outside with the scientists, and you just get in a truck and drive away, and well, that wasn't really that big a deal. I mean, at the end of Opposing Force, he plays one of the Marines invading Black Mesa, and the G-Man orders the Black Ops guys to nuke Black Mesa, which they do. I'm like, see, that has significance. But interestingly, Blue Shift, once I started playing Half-Life 2, I kind of realized that Blue Shift had a lot more importance than, it had a lot of importance. It mainly, first of all, it showed the teleporting thing that happens towards the beginning of Half-Life 2, where you are Gordon Freeman again, and you are trying to teleport to Dr. Kleiner's lab. No, you're already in Dr. Kleiner's lab. To, what's his name? Dr. Eli Vanning's lab. And you get teleported here and there and there and here and there, and then eventually just outside the Black Mesa facility, and that's exactly what happened to Barney in Blue Shift. And then what Blue Shift also showed is that some scientists were able to get away from the nuking of Black Mesa, and with the help of Barney, which explains how there are not so many, but quite a few scientists still alive in Half-Life 2. During Opposing Force, I actually encountered a lot of glitches, primarily with the AI, and also I actually had to use console commands to fix some stuff, and then I couldn't turn a lot of stuff with the console commands off, which is a shame, because it actually added a lot of cool stuff that I didn't really get to play, because I can't really do this. I might go back to it someday and start over, but I was able to see what the ending was, and see a lot of the cool major plot points. But enough of Half-Life, let's move on to Bioshock. I'm gonna throw in my thing, or there's stuff about Bioshock 1 and 2 in here because it is that kind of significant, but I'll start with Infinite. Infinite, as many know, came out this year, 2013, or no, that's last year. Happy New Year. I was gonna say. So anyway, Bioshock Infinite. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the story. I don't think I liked it as much as Bioshock, but I mean Bioshock is one of my favorite games, so it's hard to measure up. But I liked it. I really liked it. I'm not going to give away spoilers of this one because, like, as many people know, all the Bioshock games are known for the twist that happens in each of them. Each of them has sort of a twist. Bioshock 2 doesn't really, but I'm not going to give it away. As usual, it's a very solid twist. Yeah. I also really liked the DLC for Bioshock Infinite, which was Burial at Sea, which I'm sure many people have heard about. It's pretty awesome. It's where you go into 1958 in Rapture on New Year's Eve. Interestingly, the New Year's Eve rides haven't had any significance yet. Like, I mean, I know they're going to do that in the next one, but anyway. So you play as Booker, or do you? And you're in Rapture, you're a private detective just like you are in wherever you live, New York or Maine. And so you're a detective in Rapture in the 1950s, 1958, and you and Elizabeth go in search of, essentially, there's more to it than that, but they go in search of a little sister. Or somebody who's become a little sister. They also, along the way, they meet several shop owners, lots of citizens of Rapture, Sandra Cohen. So, Sandra Cohen was an artist in the city of Rapture from Bioshock 1. In that game, it's one of the parts of the city that you go to. The city itself is underwater. It takes place in the 50s. Bioshock takes place in 1960, but everything in it is styled from the 50s. So back to Sandra Cohen. Before I explain why I don't like Sandra Cohen, I'm going to give a little bit of context that doesn't seem like it'll be going anywhere. So, in Bioshock there are plasmids that they can do various things, essentially magic. It's just magic, but it's all explained in science. There's when you start out with this lightning, you need to summon lightning from your hands, zap people. There's incinerate, which obviously it actually has an exclamation point in the product. You can set things on fire. I believe I already explained most of these in my Our Big Daddy's Human Review, which I will be adding to later. And anyway, one of them is the ability to hypnotize a Big Daddy to fight with you. I would use that. I would try to use that as often as I could on one particular Big Daddy. I named them and I never named all of them, jokingly. And I was talking to one of my friends and asked her for a suggestion as to what to name them. So I inadvertently named two of them after Rooster Teeth Cast, who I've never seen. And then I just named the third one Hernando. So I believe the one when I was in Sandra Cohen's city was named Lewis, or Simon, because that was, I guess one of the guys. And because he already seemed like kind of a douche before, I decided to shoot Sandra Cohen when he was walking down the steps presenting me with, I don't even remember, and I decided to shoot him to see what happened, and he started attacking me, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so I ordered my Big Daddy to attack him while I helped. And he was apparently very powerful, and he killed the Big Daddy, and now I really don't like him, so that's why. Speaking of Big Daddies, on to Bioshock 2, where you play as a Big Daddy. You play as the Alpha Series Big Daddy, named Delta. It makes sense. And it's 10 years later, I believe. No, it's 8 years after the first Bioshock. It's your quest to rescue your little sister who has now grown up into a regular-sized sister. And it's about Subject Delta and a number of new characters, considering you killed most of the major characters in Bioshock. Most of them ended up dead. And Andrew Ryan still plays a fair part. Your sort of Atlas, your Wheatley, if you will, for the sequel, is this Southern guy. What was his name? Do you remember what character? What was his name? Augustus Sinclair. He's introduced to you by Dr. Bridget Tenenbaum, who is like my favorite character in the series, and he's your Wheatley, he's your Atlas, and he guides you along. When it was introduced, I was like, oh, you are. He's like a very Southern, very money-loving sounding guy, and I'm like, oh, you are obviously gonna betray me. It's gonna be so obvious. It's gonna be like, I'm sorry, kid, but business is business, and then he doesn't. He totally doesn't betray you. He's totally like with you to the end. He he sacrifices himself for you, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry for distrusting you because you were an awesome character. The ending is good if you chose the good ending. The endings are all fairly similar, but they're different enough. They're still very interesting on their own. Introduced a new kind of Big Daddy, and I think that's all I really have to say about Bioshock 2. I really liked it. A lot of critics didn't like it. I really liked it. But that brings me to this really awesome thing, which was the Bioshock DLC. Mariva's Dead. I'm going to post a thing. I was going to put a thing about it over my face. Mariva's Dead, and in which you play as a different Big Daddy, Subject Sigma, I believe. Adds a new weapon, adds new plasmids. It's mainly about you, this guy who has a striking resemblance to Neil deGrasse Tyson. And it's also a scientist, and also Bridget Tenenbaum are three central characters. As a villain, but you don't really care about him. It's not really so much about him. As usual with the Bioshock games, there's a twist, and I think this is my favorite twist out of all of them, because it's really good, and it's a very good twist. I'm not going to spoil it. Although to be fair, people watching this probably will not play it. There's something I want to say at the end of this video, like a part, which is in addition to my Our Big Daddy's Human video, that I can't really say without spoiling this DLC. So, your Wheatley, I'm going to spoil it, spoiler alert, just skip to the end, because that's pretty much going to be the end of the video. Your Wheatley, your Atlas, your Sinclair for this thing is C.M. Porter, who, as I said, he's the guy who reminds me a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he leads you along, and you are recruited to help him defeat this guy, the villain you don't really care about, and get the blueprints from this supercomputer so Dr. Bridget Tenenbaum can cure the people with rapture of their evil that was brought about by Adam, which is what gives you the superpowers, and they need that computer but unfortunately it's in Rapture, and that in itself poses a problem. And you have to get that computer to the surface, or well, the schematic of the computer. And through the audio logs, which Bioshock is, among other things, famous for, it's repetitively kind of said that CM Porter was arrested and taken to the prison where you are in the end of Bioshock 2. And it's, and when they, and it's not hinted, it's hinted, it was stated that they intended to take him there, that the police were coming to take him there, but you don't know what happens to him until the end when, they drop more hints, and I'm kind of figuring out, okay, either there's very little chance that this guy is alive. Either he's in the computer, like GLaDOS style, or he's me, which is, I'm like, ooh, both of those would be really good twists. And then, at the end, you kind of figure out that it's both, as weird as that may sound. Because he's about to be arrested, and he knows that they will turn him into a Big Daddy, which is generally what happens to them, and he would turn him into a Big Daddy, and he, as he built the computer to do, I don't want to say copied himself in the computer, but that's essentially what he did. It's better explained than that, but he essentially copied himself into the computer GLaDOS style, and then they took him away and turned him into the Big Daddy that you play as in the DLC. So it's sort of both. I really liked that. It was really well presented. And you do make it to the surface. You're able to take a bathysphere with Bridget Tenenbaum to the surface. And she manages to make the Big Daddy, Sam Porter, human again, which kind of adds to what I was saying in Bioshock 1, or our Big Daddy's human video. A Big Daddy was turned back into a human. So yeah, all very solid games. I still haven't played Half-Life 2 Episode 1 or Half-Life 2 Episode 2. And yeah, best of luck to everyone who is taking like finals and stuff now, myself included. We'll be taking finals soon, in my case. And Happy New Year, 1959.
I think I speak for all of us when I say I understand why you folks might hesitate to submit to our demand. But here's an FYI, you're all gonna die screaming, all we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable, I mean no